Rebecca, who is pulling up the presentation.
Hi. Okay.
Hello and welcome.
Thank you, Julia, and thank you, Neil, and thank you, Nikos, for the invitation to speak today. So I personally focus on LPG equipment for the Cavani Group. Although we are diverse in our product range, just going to try and pull up the presentation. There we go. So the title and focus of this presentation today is about looking outside of our norm and our safety blanket, if you will, and to look at some other industries. I am here, I think, because I've been fortunate enough over the last 6 years in the LPG industry to try some new ideas and markets that are outside of the box and outside of our general industry norm, and bring a new way to look at LPG as an energy source with our Greengear application range, which is a division by the Cavani Group. So the more that I learn, the more that I realize that perhaps new avenues are plentiful for us, alongside the joint effort of our industry to make a real difference and reach new places for LPG. So I'll present to you 3 examples of how we are trying to expand the use of LPG in applications. So I might jump from one thing to another that are not necessarily related. But as a group, we are trying to put in the maximum effort to look outside of what is seen as standard. Okay, so I wanted to start the presentation with something quite obvious, perceptions of innovation within the LPG industry. So we have to adapt to new ways of working, enhancing and developing, and especially during this crisis, the contribution of science, technology and innovation is immediate. So I did a word association game and I asked 3 different groups of people what they think of when I say to them LPG and innovation in the same sentence, in the same breath. So I asked some people within our industry, some people who are completely out of the circle, and some people who have actually tested some of our applications and some of our new devices. So for the insiders, okay, there's IoT devices, anything that can make LPG easier to use. So that's great. We preach these points and I'm glad to see that we notice the developments that are being made amongst ourselves. And then for the outsiders, so there's the traditional view of cooking and cars, and actually that innovation doesn't necessarily mean that we keep up with other energy sources. We have to go beyond them to really be innovative. And then at the end, I asked my brother actually and he said what's LPG and what's innovation, so quite useless. But in all seriousness, we then asked, actually these 2 seem to be mixed up for some reason, but the real test subjects said that having all of my devices digitally is a step into the future, and being able to see the fill tank level on my screen is something that I never thought that I would see, and that is innovation. Okay, so we all know these things, and we know even how our friends, our family think about our industry and even our jobs. But now it's time to understand why they feel like this, and we need to make the outsiders become the real test subjects. I think it's okay. So here we are inside of our comfort bubble, and we do this at home, we do this at work. And there are so many things creeping up on us, such as legislation, environmental pressures, etc. And we also see the threat of other energy sources making big steps, and we have to keep up. And it is not a matter of if, but more when. Unless we ourselves create a demand and promote awareness for LPG, then how are we going to continue? Nobody is going to create that demand for LPG apart from us, and innovation is the key to that. So all in all, we always need to combine innovation, and I mean in the same way with our expertise of our gas know-how, so that we can equal and go beyond to what other energy sources are now promoting. So if we look at the RED II roadmap over the next 10 years, and we focus on the energy efficiency path to lead us to the case study part of this presentation, of firstly not being afraid to go digital. And we know even by this event that we are becoming digital whether we like it or not. And energy efficiency can simply mean turning off the lights or the planned rollout of smart meters for gas. Here is a quick example of the new digital devices that we as Cavagna Group have invested in, which highlight the Internet of Things. So not only are we providing products to the industry anymore, we're also providing a service, and that is alongside our learned gas know-how in products. So for example, we have the integrated medical valve, click multiple cylinder installation, and the smart meter for LPG, which are all digitally connected. So you may have had the chance to already talk to some of my Cavagna Group colleagues about this. If not, then you should. And then the next part of this presentation, I will talk about a project that I actually worked on directly. And I've actually seen a lot of talk over this week about the Sustainable Development Goal 7, which I think this leads quite nicely to. So we procured 2 tenders for the United Nations in Uzbekistan for a supply of our Greengear LPG water pumps for drought control. So governments are focusing on carbon reductions, and LPG is a great bridge to meet those targets for efficiency. And also in regards to SDG 7, this is an additional help that is not directly related to cooking to influence that goal and factor. And I believe that cooking is definitely a factor we have to focus on, but there's also other ways that we can meet that, that sustainable development goal. So we need to target the applications that don't even know that they need LPG. And I'd love to be able to take full credit for this project, but actually the UNDP contacted us. So then I asked them, why did you choose LPG? And they told us from the quote you can see here that the economical benefits, Uzbekistan produces sufficient stock of LPG that in fact is much cheaper when compared to other sources of fuel. And environmental benefits, being mainly orientated to climate change, concerns and reductions of CO2, the project is looking to alternative resources to petrol and diesel. So if they already know these things, the word is already out there and we just need to capitalize on it. There's actually an exceptional energy case study being produced about this particular initiative if you wanted to learn a little bit more about the project and about drought control with LPG. So the final case study here is quite interesting, and Neil gave a little bit of an introduction to this at the start. There was the idea and need to set up a temporary area for hygiene purposes for the staff of the hospital in Brazil, which means bathing areas and dressing rooms, because the hospital did not have a safe area for them during the COVID pandemic. They used 4 shipping containers outside of the hospital that you can see here, powered by an LPG tank by Copagas. The benefits are clear: economical and ease of breathing, which of course during COVID is one of the most influencing factors that can benefit LPG, and the ease of use. And this particular case study is interesting because the LPG restrictions in Brazil are currently prohibitive of LPG in engines of any kind, including for automotive purposes, except forklifts and industrial cleaning equipment powered by internal combustion engines. This meaning that not only were these legislations lifted for the purpose of this project and for the pandemic, they are now under review for a permanent basis this year. So this is an example of how LPG innovation and equipment can make paths and change existing regulations and perceptions with government bodies and new areas understanding the benefits of LPG. It opens more doors for us just on the back of innovation. And finally, I'll leave you here, just a few pictures of some of the strange and wonderful case studies that we have been a part of over the years in trying to make LPG more widely used in new applications. So I hope that I was able to give you some food for thought, because I don't necessarily have a specific answer about how to reach new markets, but we have to look outside of the box and start to think about our future and growth as an industry in new markets. So thank you for listening. And if you would like to meet with a member of our team or with me for any applications of the group, we're available or can direct you to the correct person.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rebecca Ball.